Hello everyone, my name is Petro and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to spot or how to identify a fake Pokemon crystal compared to a real one. Now what happens is if you were born in the 80s and the 90s, probably you'd be a big fan of the Pokemon games for the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. And this is one of those games that brings nostalgia back to the owner. And that's the reason I collected them, although I'm almost 30 years old. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the main differences between the different versions, and of course show you how you can spot a fake one, because nowadays most of these you are going to buy them from eBay or Facebook Marketplace, and a lot of the times if you don't know what you're looking for, there's a big chance you'll get a fake one. But I'll show you how, guys, you can actually be able to get a genuine one compared to a fake one. So let's get started. Now, just by looking at them, a trained eye can tell straight away which is the fake one, and the fake one will be the one on the top left. And the reason for that is straight away the color. You can see this clear blue toward purplish, whereas the original one has this turquoise with a lot of silvery bits in it. And also the Game Boy Crystal, the Pokemon Crystal was made for the Game Boy Color and not the Game Boy Classic, whereas this one has the gap for the Game Boy Classic on the side. Again, this one can easily be identified that this is the fake one compared to the actual genuine one, just by looking at them. But of course, this can become very, very tricky, and most of the times what I personally look into finding which is a genuine one, I always check for the chip on the back. So if I show you a genuine one, the back will have this 4 square chip, and of course will say Nintendo. So that's the first thing I personally check straight away, because the fake ones are not necessarily going to go to that extent of replicating that. Now that's not the case, for example, for the Japanese Pokemon Crystal, which is this one. So it's slightly different from the European. So this is the European version and this is the Japanese version, and of course I have the American version as well, which I'll show you in a second. So as you can see, this is the Japanese version and this is the actual European version. Now this is the real one, and the difference here between the European one and the Japanese one is the Japanese one has the sign of the Suicune. Hopefully I prefer that correctly. It has the front sign of the Suicune head on the back of the crystal, whereas the European version does not have that. Again, sorry if I prefer the name of the Pokemon incorrectly. Now if I were to compare the European and the American version, now here you need to look very closely to identify the differences. So the main difference here is in this area. You can see the American version, it has that sign that looks like a circle with a B inside, whereas the European version does not have that. Also, if I were to put them side by side, you should be able to see that one says EUR and the other one says EUSA. Sometimes they might say EUSA1. That's a real one, it's not a fake one. But of course, the first thing to check out, always check if you get the square for the 4 square sign here on a chip on the back. Now what I'm going to do is just open it so you can get an idea of what the chip looks inside. So what we're going to need is you're going to need a cartridge tip, which looks like that. As long as you have the tip, they should fairly open easily. And let's do the same thing for the American version. Now the way to open this one is you would scroll it down softly, do not use any force, and just lift it up. So I'm just going to do it like that so I don't mess them up. Now the one on the left is the European. The one on the right is the American version. Now if I were to get the chips out from the American and the European version, because what happens is what some people do is they might switch the fronts. So how can we tell if the one is European and one is American from the chip? Again, that's a question that I don't have myself, but let's see if we can figure it out. This is what an actually real chip would look like for a Pokemon Crystal. So this is the front, and I'll show you the back. And as I mentioned, what you're going to look for is those 4 gold squares on the back here. Now let's see if there is any engraving explaining which one is the American one and which one is the European one. So there's nothing obvious explaining which is the American, which is the European one, but that's one thing to pay attention. Like from the chip itself, most likely you're not going to tell which one is the American one and which one is the European one, because they seem exactly identical. Even the coding is exactly identical. So keep that in mind when buying one of them. Does it make a difference if you have the European one or the American one? No, I don't believe so. I haven't had an issue. You can trade between them, and they are exactly the same. They look exactly the same, except the small detail with the circle here, and of course the name, and that's it pretty much. The backs are exactly the same. So if I leave this on the side, now if I were to open the Japanese one, now the Japanese one has 2 screws, one on the left, one on the right, whereas the European and the American one has only one on the back. Again, the way to open the Japanese one is exactly the same. Scroll it down or push it politely down. Do not use force. And actually you can see that the back is reflecting. Personally, in my opinion, I believe the graphics on the Japanese one are 10 times better than the actual European one. So if I were to compare the chips between them two, they are going to look something like this. Mostly, from the looks of it, mostly the color is different, and one takes 2 screws on the left and the other one takes 1 screw. Now the 4 square golden boxes that I showed you in the European one, those are on the back, whereas in the Japanese one, as we can see from here, they are at the front. And of course, the Japanese one has this nice reflecting graphic on the back, whereas the European one doesn't. So these are the things that you need to look. Now, if you are buying this physically and you're able to actually see the cartridge itself, that makes it a lot easier, because of course, once you feel one of the Pokemon cartridges with your hand, you know exactly the way they should feel. So it's not only the graphics, it's not only the visual differences, but it's the feeling you get when you actually hold one of them. So let me just close that one. Close the other one as well. The reason I'm closing them is because I'm just going to turn them on and actually show you on the actual Game Boy the information you should be getting from an original one, and the information should be getting from a fake one. So we just need to check out is it different, and we should be able to check any second now. Again, I want to make this process, I know the video will be slightly longer, but I don't want to cut any parts out. I just want to show you guys from start to finish. This is the information, and I don't want to omit any part out of it. So we have the three at the bottom. The first one is the Japanese, the middle one is the European, and the one on the right is the American. And of course, this is the fake one, clearly. So if I were to open this one, but actually I'm not gonna even bother opening it because there's no point actually. You can see straight away that the chip is like half of what it should be in an original one. Now, what's the difference now game-wise between an original one and a fake one? So if I were to put the original one in, this is a modded Game Boy, by the way. So it has there is an LCD screen LED light installed to it. So if I were to turn it on, you should be able to see that there is actually brightness on the Game Boy Color, whereas on the normal one, actually there isn't. So this is how a normal Game Boy Crystal should start. There is no other information. If the battery in this one has obviously finished, but if there was battery, it would say new game, continue new game, or options. But if I were to show you again, but let me just do it with the American version. So maybe this one has a save on it, but we'll see now. So this is one of those that you need to blow. So if you had one of them, you know exactly the feeling. I don't believe it does anything, it's just mostly in your mind, but anyway. So this is the graphics you should get. No messages popping out or popping up. Again, this doesn't have a battery, but it should look like that. This is what an original one should look like. And I'm gonna show you just for reference what the Japanese one looks like. It should be exactly the same. Yes, it's exactly the same. The only difference would be the language. Now, if I were to put the fake one in, or the copy, however you want to call it, actually in this specific version they have done a really good job. Actually, you're not able to identify. Sometimes what happens is with this one, you get a message that the game, which states that the game is starting. This specific one doesn't have it, but actually keep that in mind. This is the software. This one is a better version from other fakes. So this is it pretty much, guys. So the things to look here is make sure which version you would like to buy. Now, if you are buying a European version, like the American or the European one, the first thing to look out is the chip on the back. Is there a chip on the back? Then is it for the Game Boy Color? If it's for the Game Boy Color, it wouldn't have that gap on the top. Then of course you need to double check with is the color there? Does it have the silvery bits in? Then of course if it's a European one, it should look like that. So it should say EUR. There is now pay attention to one thing. Depending on which country you live in Europe, those three letters will be different. If you live in France, it would say FRA. If you live in Germany, it would say GER, I believe. But that's one thing to keep in mind. And of course, if you have the American version, that circle with a B should be there, and it should say USA or USA 1. And it's as simple as that. But again, once you feel one of them, you can tell which one is the fake one or the real one. But that's the things you need to look out. Personally, the first thing I look out on the crystal version is the chip on the back. If it's there, then most likely that's real. But personally, I've rarely seen the Pokemon Crystal being faked. Most of the ones that get faked are the Pokemon Blue, Red, and Yellow, or Silver and Gold. But as I mentioned, this occasion, you can tell straight away which one is the fake one. But that's it pretty much, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video for each single Pokemon game, of course from Pokemon Crystal and backwards, and actually show you how to identify a fake one compared to a real one. And that's it pretty much, guys. If you have any questions, please put them on the comments, put it down on the comments, and I'll try my best to answer that question. Thank you for watching the video. Do press the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content, and until next time, stay safe and take care.